Tonight, close your eyes and journey to a realm where magic dances on snowflakes and wishes whisper through the coldest winds. Imagine the North Pole, where endless winter holds a timeless wonder, and the Christmas post office hums with the dreams of children from every corner of the world. But this year, something is wrong. Letters have vanished, and Christmas magic teeters on the brink. Follow the brave tinsel and a boy named Elias into the heart of a mysterious realm where belief is tested and the light of hope burns brightest. Let the story unfold and let its warmth carry you gently into dreams. The North Pole was a realm suspended between wonder and time, where daylight bowed to endless winter and the air shimmered with unseen magic. At its heart stood the Christmas post office, a sprawling labyrinth of frosted glass and golden beams. Here, letters from children around the world cascaded in waves of light and color, each one carrying the weight of a whispered hope or an earnest plea. The letters arrived not through mundane means, but by magic, a delicate, ancient force that wove through the stars and snow, guiding them into the heart of the post office. The air inside was alive with their energy. Words of kindness and longing danced in invisible threads, spinning the tapestry that kept Christmas alive. But this year, something was wrong. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly, as the hum of the mail chutes grew quieter. The golden glow of incoming letters flickered, as if dimmed by a shadow that no one could see. The elves, diligent as ever, chalked it up to the season's usual chaos. But as the days drew closer to Christmas Eve, the chutes stopped altogether. The silence in the post office grew heavy, oppressive, like the hush before a storm. Then came the discovery. Mailbags, countless mailbags, were missing, their contents gone as though swallowed by the void. It wasn't just one or two letters, it was tens of thousands. Letters meant to sustain the magic of Christmas had vanished, leaving nothing but empty sacks and unanswered questions. In the deepest hall of the post office, where time-worn parchments lined the walls and the oldest elf records were kept, a scroll unrolled itself. Its appearance was unbidden, its parchment crackling as if infused with urgency. The elves gathered around, their breath misting in the cold air as they read the words etched in starlight. When wishes stray where silence dwells, seek the child whose heart compels. Through mystery and snowy strife, restore the letters to save Christmas life. The meaning was as cryptic as the message itself. The elves whispered among themselves, their usually nimble fingers trembling with unease. Who was the child? Where was this place of silence? And what had taken the letters? Above them, the auroras twisted in uneasy patterns, their colours dim and muted, reflecting the dwindling strength of Christmas magic. Without the letters, Santa's powers would fade, and the hopes of millions would remain unanswered. It was not simply a loss of wishes, It was the unraveling of belief itself. Among the elves, one stepped forward. Tinsel, the smallest and sharpest among them, was known for her quick wits and her courage that often bordered on recklessness. "The riddle points to the human world," she said, her voice clear and determined. "We must find the child mentioned in the scroll. Whoever they are, they hold the key to saving Christmas." The elders hesitated. It was dangerous to venture so close to Christmas Eve, especially when the trail of the missing letters was shrouded in mystery. But Tinsel's resolve was unshakable. "If we do nothing," she said, her eyes flashing with conviction, "Christmas as we know it will wither away. I'll go alone if I must." And so, as the elves prepared to scour their ancient maps and consult their star charts, Tinsel donned her frost-lined cloak and starlight lantern. Before stepping into the icy winds of the outside world, she turned back to the elders. "I'll bring the letters back," she promised, "and I'll find the child." As she disappeared into the snow, the post office was left in an eerie quiet. The magic that once flowed through its walls seemed distant now, as though holding its breath for what was to come. Far away, in a quiet little town bathed in moonlight, a boy named Elias sat by his window, watching the snow fall in gentle spirals. He had no way of knowing that he had already become part of a story much larger than himself. A story where wishes could vanish, shadows could steal dreams, and the fate of Christmas rested on his unassuming shoulders. The wind that night carried a peculiar song, faint and forlorn, as though the snow itself whispered secrets to the stars. Elias sat in his small bedroom, a single candle casting flickering shadows on the frost-etched window. His breath fogged the glass as he stared into the night, where the world seemed endless and unknowable. Elias was no ordinary boy. Though his life was quiet and simple, his thoughts often wandered far beyond the horizon. Where others saw only snowflakes, Elias imagined them as tiny letters from the sky, messages waiting to be understood. This year, his letter to Santa had been different from others. It wasn't a request for toys or treats, but a heartfelt plea, a wish for his mother's happiness. She had grown distant since his father passed, her laughter a memory that grew fainter with each season. The candlelight flickered, and a strange sound broke the silence. A soft knock at the door, faint yet deliberate. Elias hesitated, his heart racing. It was far too late for visitors, and the streets outside were buried in snow. When the knock came again, he rose, his steps cautious, and opened the door. Standing before him was a figure no taller than a child, cloaked in a silvery fabric that glimmered like frost. The figure's face was sharp, almost fox-like, with eyes that gleamed like molten gold. She carried a lantern that seemed to hold a fragment of the northern lights, its glow pulsing softly. "Elias," the figure said, her voice a curious blend of sharpness and warmth. "I am Tinsel, an elf of the Christmas post office, and we need your help." Elias blinked, convinced he was dreaming. "An elf," he stammered, his words curling into the cold air. "Yes, an elf," she replied impatiently, stepping inside and shaking the snow from her cloak. "We don't have much time, so listen closely. Letters to Santa, yours included, have gone missing. Without them, Christmas magic is unraveling, and soon it will fade entirely. We must find them, and you are the key." "Me?" Elias echoed, bewildered. He had spent his life feeling insignificant, one boy in a world too vast to notice him. Yet here stood a creature of magic, asking for his help. Tinsel nodded, her golden eyes narrowing. The letters didn't just vanish. They were drawn somewhere, to a place of silence and shadow, a place I cannot reach alone. The ancient scroll spoke of a child whose heart compels. That's you, Elias. Your wish, selfless and pure, is what led me here. Elias felt the weight of her words settle over him, strange and heavy. He thought of his letter, his mother's sorrow, and the possibility that his wish might never be heard. That thought alone was enough to stir something deep within him. "I'll go," he said, his voice steadier than he expected. "I'll help." Tinsel's expression softened, her sharp features almost smiling. "Good," she said, handing him a small pouch. "Take this. Inside is snow from the North Pole. It will protect you when things seem darkest." Elias took the pouch, its contents cool and tingling against his fingers. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To the edge of the human world," Tinsel replied, her lantern casting strange shadows on the walls. "And beyond it lies a realm where forgotten things dwell. That's where the letters have gone." She turned and gestured for him to follow. "Hurry. The snow will guide us for now, but the trail is fading." Elias grabbed his coat and boots, his heart thudding in his chest. As they stepped into the swirling snow, he glanced back at his small home, the window glowing faintly with the candlelight he had left behind. He wondered if he would return in time to light it again. The wind grew colder as they walked, biting and relentless. But Tinsel's lantern never dimmed. It cast a circle of warmth around them, though its light barely penetrated the endless expanse of white. Elias's thoughts swirled like the snow around him. Why him? What did the riddle truly mean? And what would they face in this mysterious place of silence? "You're quiet," Tinsel said, glancing at him. "Second thoughts?" "No," Elias replied, though the word felt fragile in the vastness of the night. "I'm just wondering." "Good," she said briskly. "Wondering means you're thinking, and thinking is what keeps us alive." They pressed on, the snow growing deeper and the wind harsher. Yet Elias felt something else, something pulling at him, subtle but undeniable, like the faintest echo of a forgotten melody. It was as though the missing letters were calling out, their magic still alive, waiting for someone to find them. And though he didn't yet understand it, Elias knew he had to answer. The snow deepened as Elias and Tinsel trudged onward, the quiet vastness around them broken only by the crunch of their boots and the occasional hiss of the wind. The North Pole wasn't far now, but the world seemed to twist and stretch as if time and distance were playing tricks. Tinsel's lantern pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow, its light weaving shapes in the snow, patterns that flickered and shifted, as though forming a map only she could read. "Stay close," she warned, her voice cutting through the cold. "The path is thin here. If we stray too far, we might lose it entirely." "Lose what?" Elias asked, his breath visible in the freezing air. "The way between worlds," Tinsel replied cryptically. "This snow, it's not just snow. It's the border, the in-between, where the known fades and the unknown begins. The letters cross this place, and so must we." Elias didn't understand, but he didn't argue. He tightened his grip on the pouch Tinsel had given him, feeling the enchanted snow within shift softly against his palm. He tried to focus on her lantern, its light a beacon in the endless white. They passed into a grove of ancient trees, their branches heavy with frost. The wind died down here, replaced by an eerie stillness. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their trunks twisted and gnarled as though carved by centuries of whispers. Tinsel paused, her sharp eyes scanning the shadows. "This forest isn't on any map," she muttered. "It's older than the North Pole, older than the post office itself. If we're here, it means the letters are close." As if summoned by her words, a soft rustling came from the trees ahead. Elias froze, his heart pounding. The sound was faint but deliberate, like footsteps on the brittle snow. "What was that?" he whispered. Tinsel's hand shot out, stopping him in his tracks. "Not what?" "Who?" she said, her voice low. "Stay behind me." From the shadows stepped a creature unlike anything Elias had ever seen. It was a fox, or at least it seemed to be. Its fur shimmered like molten silver, and its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. It moved with uncanny grace, its paw steps leaving no trace in the snow. The fox stared at them, unblinking, before letting out a soft, melodic bark. It turned and began to walk away, its tail leaving faint traces of light in the air. "It wants us to follow," Tinsel said, a note of awe in her voice. "Is it safe?" Elias asked, his skepticism battling with his curiosity. "Safe?" Tinsel chuckled, though there was no humor in it. "Nothing here is safe, but it's not an enemy, at least not yet. Let's move." They followed the fox deeper into the forest, its glowing form weaving through the trees like a phantom. The path became narrower, the trees closer together, until they came to a halt before an icy chasm. The fox paused at the edge, then turned to face them, its luminous eyes seeming to pierce through Elias. "It's a test," Tinsel murmured, stepping forward to examine the chasm. Below, the abyss was dark and endless, its depths pulsing faintly with the same strange energy as the snow. A staircase of ice spiraled downward, carved into the chasm wall. "This is the way," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The letters are below." The fox let out another bark and vanished into thin air, leaving only a faint shimmer where it had stood. Elias stared at the staircase, his breath catching. "Are we really going down there?" Tinsel nodded, her lantern glowing brighter as if in anticipation. "This is the trail," she said. "The letters were drawn to a place beyond this abyss. If we want to save them, we have no choice." Elias swallowed hard, his legs trembling as he approached the edge. The icy steps looked impossibly fragile, their surfaces slick and glinting in the lantern's light. But he felt the same pull that had guided him this far, an invisible thread drawing him forward. Tinsel took the first step, her boots crunching against the ice. "Stay close and keep your eyes on the lantern," she said. "Whatever you do, don't look down." Elias followed, gripping the icy railing as they descended. The air grew colder, sharper, and the light above them faded with each step. The chasm seemed to hum softly, a deep, resonant sound that made the hairs on Elias's neck stand on end. At the bottom, they stepped into an otherworldly glow. The walls of the chasm were lined with frost that sparkled like stars, and a faint path of shimmering snow stretched out before them, leading into the darkness. "This is it," Tinsel said, her voice reverent. "The edge of the human world. Beyond this lies the realm of forgotten wishes." Elias tightened his grip on the pouch, his heart racing. He didn't know what awaited them, but he knew one thing. There was no turning back now. The path through the chasm opened into a realm that defied explanation. It was neither dark nor light, but a strange in-between. A place where shadows bent and stretched unnaturally, and the air carried the faint hum of a forgotten melody. Elias and Tinsel stood at the threshold, the snow beneath their feet shimmering faintly like crushed diamonds. "This is the realm of forgotten wishes," Tinsel murmured, her voice barely audible. Her lantern's glow flickered uneasily, as if it too were uncertain about venturing further. Elias scanned the horizon, or what he thought was the horizon. The space ahead seemed to shift and ripple like water, impossible to define. Suspended in the air were countless letters, drifting aimlessly as though caught in an eternal breeze. They glowed faintly but weakly, their light dimmed as if drained of their magic. "What happened to them?" Elias asked, his voice tinged with both awe and sorrow. "They were drawn here," Tinsel replied, stepping forward cautiously. "This is where forgotten things go, wishes abandoned by doubt, fear, or disbelief. They lose their power here, and if we don't act quickly, they'll fade entirely." Elias tightened his grip on the pouch of enchanted snow. "Why does this place exist? Who would want to steal the letters?" "It wasn't theft," Tinsel said grimly. "Not in the way you think. This realm pulls at the edges of our world, feeding on the magic of forgotten dreams. The letters were drawn here because their magic weakened. It's not evil exactly, but it's dangerous. As they moved deeper into the realm, the humming grew louder, vibrating through Elias's chest. Shapes began to coalesce in the mist, shadowy figures that moved with eerie grace. They weren't human, nor were they entirely real, their forms flickering like candle flames in the wind. One figure emerged from the mist, taller and more solid than the others. It had the shape of a person cloaked in flowing darkness, its face obscured except for two hollow, glowing eyes. In its hands was a quill, its tip dripping with ink that shimmered like starlight. Tinsel froze, her lantern trembling in her grasp. "The scribe," she whispered, her voice filled with both reverence and fear. "The guardian of this place." The scribe tilted its head, its hollow eyes locking onto Elias. "A visitor," it said, its voice like the rustling of brittle paper. "Two visitors to a place they do not belong. Why have you come?" "Tinsel," Elias whispered, his voice trembling. "Are we going the right way?" Tinsel didn't answer immediately. Her sharp eyes darted through the shifting haze, her lips pressed into a grim line. "We are," she said finally, though her voice lacked its usual confidence. "But the realm is fighting us. It doesn't want to let go of the letters." As if in response, the mist thickened, swirling into forms that resembled grasping hands and faceless figures. One of them lunged, its shadowy arm sweeping toward Elias, but he leapt back just in time. "They're coming after us!" he shouted. Tinsel spun, holding her lantern high. Its light flared, scattering the shadowy forms momentarily. "Keep moving!" she ordered. "The letter's magic is stronger now. They're reacting to your belief. Don't lose it, no matter what happens." Elias nodded, though fear gnawed at the edges of his resolve. He thought of the letters, of the children who had written them with such hope, and of his own wish, fragile yet fierce, that had led him here. That thought steadied him, like an anchor in a storm. The path widened suddenly, opening into a vast circular clearing. Suspended in the center was a swirling vortex of light and shadow, its edges pulsing with the same faint glow as the letters. It was a place of raw, chaotic magic, where the realm's power was strongest. And standing before it was the scribe. "You've come far," the scribe said, its voice carrying a strange mix of admiration and warning. Its hollow eyes burned brighter as it gestured to the vortex. "But you must understand, not all wishes are meant to be fulfilled. Some are born of sorrow, others of greed or fear. To take these letters back is to carry their burden. Are you ready for that?" Elias hesitated, the weight of the scribe's words pressing down on him. He thought of his mother's laughter, of the children who had written their wishes with trembling hands, and of the magic that bound all of them together. He met the scribe's gaze, his voice steady. "Every wish matters, even the ones born of sorrow, especially those." The scribe tilted its head as if studying him. Then it stepped aside, allowing them to approach the vortex. "Very well," it said. "If you can reach into the heart of the realm and retrieve the letters, they will be yours to return. But beware, this place will test your resolve." Tinsel touched Elias's shoulder. "This is it," she said, her voice softer than he had ever heard it. "The letters are waiting for you." Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward. The vortex's pull was immediate and overwhelming, a swirling tide of emotion and memory that seemed to press against his very soul. The letters floated within it, their glow faint but alive, like stars caught in a storm. As he reached for them, the realm pushed back. The shadows coalesced into figures from his own memories. His father's distant silhouette, his mother's tear-streaked face, moments of doubt and fear he had buried deep. They whispered to him, their voices full of pain. "Why do you believe? What difference will it make?" For a moment he faltered. The shadows seemed so real, their doubts so heavy. But then he remembered his mother's smile, the way her laughter had once filled their home. He thought of the children who had written to Santa with trembling hands, trusting that someone out there cared enough to listen. "I believe," he whispered, clutching the pouch of enchanted snow. Its cool, tingling magic spread through him like a wave of warmth, pushing back the shadows. "I believe every wish matters." The letters responded to his words, their glow intensifying. One by one they flew to him, their magic rekindled by his belief. The vortex began to collapse, its chaotic energy folding in on itself until it disappeared entirely. The realm shuddered, its resistance fading. The shadows retreated, their forms dissolving into the mist. The scribe watched silently, its hollow eyes unreadable. "You've done what few could," it said finally. "Go now before this place remembers to fight again." Tinsel's lantern burned brighter than ever, its light forming a path back to the icy chasm. Elias followed, the letters swirling around them like a constellation. They climbed the spiral staircase, the realm's hum fading behind them, until they emerged into the crisp, starry air of the North Pole. As they stepped into the Christmas post office, the letters soared into their golden chutes, filling the room with a radiant glow. The elves cheered, their joy breaking the long silence. And as Santa himself appeared, his eyes twinkling with gratitude, he knelt before Elias. "You've brought Christmas back," Santa said. "Because you believed, every wish will be heard." That morning, Elias awoke to the sound of his mother's laughter, the house filled with warmth and the faint scent of cinnamon. And though he never told her the full story, she seemed to know, her smile carrying a quiet magic of its own. Far away in the North Pole, the Christmas post office hummed with life once more, ensuring that no wish, no matter how small or fragile, would ever be forgotten again.